Welcome to the Love Your Story podcast. I'm your host, Lori Lee, and today you are here for a quick chat. That's one inspirational idea in 15 minutes or less. Today's chat is every problem is a thought problem. It's a bold statement, but a true one, and one that sets us free, one that puts us in control most of the time. So stay tuned as we discuss how much power we actually have and how to solve the problems. Stories are our lives in language. Welcome to the Love Your Story podcast. I'm Lori Lee, and I'm excited for our future together of telling stories, evaluating our own stories, and lifting ourselves and others to greater places because of our control over our stories. This podcast is about empowerment and giving you, the listener, ideas to work with in making your stories work for you. Story power serves you best when you know how to use it. Since you are a listener of the Love Your Story podcast, I'm going to make the assumption that we are on the same page on the topic of taking responsibility for the pivotal role that our thoughts are playing in shaping our realities. Basically, our thoughts, or our stories, as we refer to them, are the things that we create in our mind, and that creates our realities. Are we on the same page there? Okay, there are 7 billion different realities. So with that said, I want to start out with this quote by Byron Katie. She says, quote, "It's not the problem that causes our suffering, it's our thinking about the problem," unquote. In other words, every problem is a thought problem. So I'm going to put me in the hot seat here. In 2023, it was a rough year for real estate and for lenders. That higher interest rate meant that for a great many of us, the clients that were buying and selling really slowed down. Now, I primarily blamed my slow year on the situation, on the interest rate. But I can focus on that and blame it, or I can take another angle. And the angle could be to focus on the fact that a slower year allowed me to travel more. It gave me more time to reach out and renew and develop relationships with my sphere of influence, my database, my past clients, basically. So which do I focus on? I can focus on the complaints and, oh, what a crappy year, or do I focus on the opportunity that gives me? So was it a problem or was it an opportunity? And when you can see just from this example, problems don't have to stay problems. They can become opportunities if we choose just to shift our thoughts and what we focus on. We're always talking about how what you focus on expands. Here's that example. So in the realm of personal development and self-reflection, this idea invites us to scrutinize the nature of our challenges by recognizing, first of all, that they're subjective, and also by understanding and claiming that situations and ideas only hold the power that we allow them to hold. Another example, I think the examples really help clarify things. So if I come from a family who, let's say a religious family where being a part of a certain religion is tantamount to being right with God, right with the world, then if I step away from that religion, my social construct, my family, my friends, members of that congregation, they might collapse around me, and it may cause those people pain. On the other hand, if there is an acceptance among these people that everyone finds their own way in the world, that we are open to whatever belief system each other wants to adopt, in a way that each individual feels is best for them, basically, then the suffering ceases to happen and there's a lot more allowance. Okay. What if, I'll use me again. Respect is really important to me, as it is with most type A personalities. And if I am disrespected, I can feel resentment or anger or frustration, maybe even embarrassment. Whereas someone for whom that's not as important, they might not even hardly notice something that might feel disrespectful to a type A, or they may not feel disrespected in a similar situation. So, in other words, what I'm saying is the situations are subjective. Problems are subjective. Different people are going to interpret things in different ways, and that makes it subjective. My mother used to get really upset when we had family parties and when they didn't unfold as she had expected. Now, her expectations weren't met. She would feel frustrated. She would cry before the night was through. And as the years went by, she learned to let go of those expectations and to go with the flow a little bit more. The family got bigger. She didn't want to be miserable every time. So she learned to kind of flow with whatever was going to happen. This is a good example of a person creating pain for themselves and then learning how to adjust their thoughts and their expectations in a way that created less pain for them. So Katie's assertion is that our thoughts about our circumstances themselves contribute more to our issues than these circumstances actually do. And this is an important thing to realize because when we internalize the belief that the problems are at their core rooted in thought pattern, then we gain agency over our response, which helps us to be more resilient. It helps us to adapt a little bit better. It helps us to feel like we're more in control because we realize we can shift things. And when we get good at recognizing the stories that we've naturally created about an event, and we transition into looking at them in other ways, then we can shift the thoughts, the story, the reality. That's so powerful. We become the thought shifters that move us forward toward our own happiness. So you have that idea, and then when you add to it that life is happening for our well-being, it's happening for us, not to us, then we start embracing a narrative tool that allows us to view challenges as opportunities for self-discovery, opportunities for growth, opportunities for development, rather than, oh, life sucks, right? Rather than being a victim. So Jeffrey R. Holland, he's an apostle in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And he said, quote, "To anybody struggling today, I say, be hopeful, be happy, and smile. Remember that God is on your side. He is not an angry, vicious God trying to trip you. He is for you, not against you. He is your Father. He is anxious to do everything possible to bless you." Unquote. Now, I have a personal example that, just really drove this home for me. And it was back in 2013 when I started my graduate work. I was biting off a lot. I was working full time. I was driving an hour and a half up to Utah State University to teach every day, to take my own grad work classes. I was grading student papers. I was a single mom of 2 teenagers. But I was really determined and really excited. And I remember on my drive up, the first day of class, the thoughts that were crossing my mind, the anxiety in my heart, the heaviness. And there was just naturally this very distrustfulness of God. And after a while of fearful thoughts, and they were things like, He's just waiting for me to make a mistake, right? This was the thing that was just playing in my head. This wasn't even conscious. And when I realized I was doing it, I don't know why my thoughts naturally went to a God who was waiting to make things hard on me. But I remember the exact moment when the thought pushed through. He is for you, not against you. He is your cheerleader. He will help you succeed in the ways you want to succeed. He will help you do this. And at that thought, my entire body changed. The tension left. The relief flooded in. That moment was very profound for me. And I remember it because it was so profound. That moment when I realized God isn't there looking for ways to make things harder for us. He is there to help us. And so, see, this idea of life is for you, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. Life is for you, not against you. And I'm not even certain that I necessarily agree with it completely, right? Like it's one of those things that it's like, maybe not. But here's the thing I've decided that when you adopt that mindset, it becomes so much more powerful. I noticed it the other day. I was writing this and I was having a challenge with some people that I didn't necessarily want to let into my life. And because I'd been writing this, I thought this is happening for you, not to you, because I just really didn't want to deal with it. It was one of those things where I just wanted to push it away, that this is not a good thing I want to deal with. And when I shifted it to this is for you, I started looking at it instead as an opportunity to love, to focus on accepting, to focus on forgiveness, to focus on something that made my world bigger, looking at it as an opportunity for me instead of something crappy I had to deal with. It was a very, very different mind shift, a very different type of energy. So 2 tools I want to leave with you today. One is that all problems are thought problems. So when you're having a difficult time with something, take a minute, look at the stories. Not that your stories are wrong. They're just creating your reality. And so they're also creating your emotion around things. And consider what you can do to shift or let go of that's going to change your suffering level, that will allow you to proceed in peace. Okay. And the second one, when you embrace the idea that things are happening for me, you gain that powerful, supportive mindset that challenges are being intricately woven into the fabric of your personal evolution, and that they mean growth. They mean positive things for you, even when they feel like they're negative. And when you're thinking that and you're thinking, how can this be for me? It really changes everything. Let me also add that in practice, embracing this idea, it also plants seeds for gratitude. It plants seeds for resilience during hard times because we can find solace and we can find purpose in adversity. This is just such a powerful. I hope this quick thought, this 15 minutes, gives you lots of things to consider with your own stories. And these 2 things, every problem is a thought problem, and life is happening for me, not to me. As we close up this quick chat, I invite you, in fact, I challenge you to examine the role of your thoughts in regard to your suffering, in regard to your subjective interpretation of the world around you, in regard to your challenges. What's challenging you today? See if you're feeling like a victim and see what needs to change so that you can take responsibility for your own role in your suffering and shift the thoughts. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for tuning into this quick chat. I hope you'll use it as you embrace your power over your own reality. Please share this episode with at least one person you love, and have a great couple of weeks creating your life on purpose, creating a story you love. We'll see you soon for the next episode of the Love Your Story podcast.